So in the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about the basics, about the things that are most routine in our life of discipleship. And we're looking for rediscovery because we want to love God more. So previously, we've been talking about the Blessed Sacrament and receiving communion, how to love God with our bodies. But what has been like underlying all of these things, and I don't think we've mentioned it, but it's like what's the unspoken key thing? It's the importance of presence, of being here and now. So in the next few weeks, we will get into more detail on the meaning of different parts in the Mass, because we want, if we know what we're here to do or what's going on, then we can participate more deeply. But the meaning of these things, it just doesn't matter if we're not present in the first place. I am, for sure, without shame, stealing some things from Father Mike Schmidt's homily for this weekend. So if you like anything that you heard here, then go listen to his homily, because it's much better. But we're talking about presence as something more than just being like physically present, because you know that you can be physically present and mostly absent. So the question basically that we ask ourselves is, God is here, am I here? We're here physically, you're here at church, you did a great job so far, and now we're talking about like, am I actually present here? Just as an example of absence, you've experienced this before, you've seen this before, when maybe as like a little kid says, Dad, look. And for whatever reason, Daddy's on his phone, he's got a million things on his mind, something's worrying him, whatever, but he's there and he says, yeah, okay, that's great. But he misses what the kid wants him to see, because even though he's physically there, he's absent in mind or in heart. So this is the danger of absence, basically, that it's all here and I missed it because I was elsewhere. Now I know that you want this. I know that you want to be present and attentive, and it's just hard for everybody. This is maybe a different way than you've thought about what we said in the Psalm. We repeated, if today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. Usually we think of a hardened heart as something rebellious and resistant, but another way to understand it is not a heart that's fighting, just a heart that is absent, even just distracted. When we're absent like this, when we're not present, then life and God and all the things that make for joy and richness, they can't get in. I want to give this little caveat, this little note for parents and those who are just generally distracted. Just watch out as we talk about this. Just watch out for discouragement in you. We're going to talk about presence, and if your mind starts to go, and man, I know that's important, I know I want it, and I'll never have it, or there are things that impede me or whatever, okay, that's not where we want to go. If you deal with discouragement as we go through this homily, then go listen to Father Mike's homily, because he talks a lot more actually about like what about when we're not present, or what about the things that take our attention away. The point though is that if you have little children that are not cooperating as you want them to be in Mass, or if you're just generally distracted, you're not disadvantaged. Okay, you're not going to lose out, but Father Mike will tell you more about that. So when it comes to presence, I just want to talk about two things, okay? The first one is our approach to Mass, and the second thing is the things in Mass that are meant to help us with this that maybe you didn't know, but that I want you to be able to take advantage of, okay? So first, just when it comes to our approach to Mass, our orientation to it, it's basically, how do you answer this question? Why do you go to Mass? What are you here for? Maybe some of you would say, I come to Mass to receive, because I need what God gives. And this is a good answer. I come to Mass to receive, because there's a lot of receiving at Mass. The Lord spoke to us in his word. We receive his love. We receive healing. Most importantly, we receive his body and blood in Holy Communion. So it's a good answer, but we're not here just to receive. And if we say we're just here to receive, then it can distort into I am here to get. And then we start to think of ourselves as we approach Mass, maybe as a consumer who's going to get something that they need, like going shopping, or as an audience member at a concert or a performance. If we're here just to receive, then we rush to the end to get what we need. Like nobody dawdles in mire, We rush through, we get what we need, and we get out of there. And maybe after you got what you were here for, then why stick around? And so People sometimes after communion, people just leave. They leave early. You don't have to be very present to receive. Okay, so we are here to receive, but there's more than that. So why do you go to Mass? Maybe rather than I'm here to receive, you would say, I come to Mass to give. And this is a good answer too. There's lots of giving at Mass. We give the Lord our time and our life, and we give him thanksgiving, and we give him money, and we give him our love, and most importantly, we offer to him the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross for the salvation of the whole world. So yeah, there's lots of giving at Mass. This is a good answer. But we're not here just to give. And if we focus too much on I'm here to give, then this can distort into I come to Mass to do. And then we start to think of ourselves as like a worker who is here to produce. We have a task to accomplish. And then we get anxious about the quality of our work and whether we prayed more attentively enough or whether we, all of those sorts of things. If we're here just to give, then also we rush to the end because we want to get done our work as efficiently as possible. And you don't have to be very present to give. Okay, so yes, we're here at Mass to receive, we're here at Mass to give, but these two are actually parts of something bigger. Why do you go to Mass? First and foremost, we go to Mass to be with God. We go to Mass to be with God. When are you happy in other places in your life? When are you happy just to be? When we love someone, we like to just be with them. And everything else is an excuse. What you do, what you talk about, how you spend the time. The point is to be with them. When you embrace somebody that you love, then you don't rush this embrace, you're just happy to be with them. When we behold something beautiful, like a painting or the mountains or a sunset or beautiful music, there's no rushing this, there's no quickly consuming it or something like that. We gaze and we listen and we wonder. When we enjoy the good things of life, like a party or good food or drink or rest, this is why we have a snooze button, because we like to savor these things and enjoy them. We're happy to just be there. So this is why that we use this strange verb for like doing Mass. We say we celebrate Mass because the point is to be. When you're in a celebration, the point is to be there and to enjoy. There's not something to get done, there's not something to achieve or anything like that, not something to get. We celebrate Mass because the point is to be. So to be with God, this includes giving and receiving for sure. But if the point is to be, then there's no rushing to the end. There's no hurrying to accomplish. Instead, if the point is to be with God, then we linger and we savor. If we're here to be with God, then you can see presence is vitally important. Otherwise, we'll miss the whole point. Okay, so this is the first thing, our approach to Mass. Yes, we're here to receive. Yes, we're here to give. But most importantly, we are here to be with God. And if we understand it like that, then, of course, we're gonna put forward the effort to be present with him, because that's the whole point. Okay, here's the second thing. Things at Mass to take advantage of that are supposed to help us to be present, because we're distracted and we have difficulties. Now, these are just two, but there are many, actually. Like, we're not going to talk about the space that we're in, or the words that we use, or that we sing together, or the postures and gestures that we have, or the repetition of Mass. It's just two things. First thing is the pace of Mass. It is not a normal pace. It's intentionally inefficient. We do one thing at a time. There are these pauses between the different things that we do. All of this is on purpose to pull us out of our normal pace of life, which is distracted and rushed. And sometimes, you've experienced this before, sometimes it grates on us. And it's like, on Lake Michigan Drive, when you're not in a super rush, but you need to get where you're going. And the person in the right lane is doing 56 miles an hour, and the person in the left lane is doing 57 miles an hour. And so you move from the right lane to the left lane because you're like, this guy, he's inching, and then there's a little hill, and the guy in the left lane slows down a little, so you move back over to the right lane, like maybe this guy will move, Like, I'm not asking for 70 or 75 miles an hour. I just want to go 60 on Lake Michigan. And these two cars, like, all of your being is like, I just want to be ahead of these guys, Sometimes being at Mass and the pace of Mass can grate on us in that way because you're just ready for the next thing. Like, why are we still waiting? What is this pause for? Why are we moving so slowly? We are forced at Mass to move at the speed of love, which is slowly. All of this, the pace of Mass, is to help us to be present because we say, God is here. Am I? Or am I already at the creed? Or am I already walking out the door? Okay, so that's the first thing, the pace of Mass. The second thing that's supposed to help us in Mass that's intentional is silence. So this is right in the book, actually. It says, in the instruction book for Mass, it says there are periods at Mass where the church observes sacred silence. And one example of this is like after communion, the vessels are purified, sit down for a moment to prayer. There's no music, we just sit in silence. This is not actually an accident. Very often when this happens, everybody sort of shifts in their seats and they look at me, like, is something supposed to happen? And then they look at the servers, like, are you guys late on something? And they look at Shonda, the musician, and they're like, I'm sure you just missed a cue. No, it's not an accident. It isn't that Shonda ran out of music. The point is that we're not waiting for something. We're being with God in silence. So when those times come around, when the silence comes up, very often you feel yourself push ahead. And if we're going to be present with God, we just have to settle back because the silence is also to help us to be present. It's a positive thing. And maybe we need more. So here's these two helps that are here for you to take advantage of at Mass. The pace of Mass and the silences that we observe. Most importantly is our approach to Mass, what we're here for. Yes, to give, yes, to receive, but most importantly, to be with God. Presence is the key to what we long for. It's the key to unlock all the depths and riches that we find in God's great gift to us in Sunday Mass and daily Mass. It's the key to intimacy, to a deep union with God that makes us holy. It is not easy to be present, but it is worth the effort. There are some days that are good and some days that are bad, and that's okay. But the bottom line is this. We're here in church at Mass, and God is here, and we love to be with him.